Greetings! We are the Group 5 and we are going to discuss the Unit 5, which is all about the teachers as an organizational leader. I am Ediboy Silat and I will be tackling the overview of our unit. Before I proceed to my discussion, let me read first our objective. At the end of the lesson, the students are expected to A. Get the knowledge and abilities required of an educational leader. B. Adapt leadership style suitable to one's context. C. Define leadership and concept of trait approach to leadership and leadership for the nature of administrative work. So defining leadership. Leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. Strong leadership is critical to an organization's competitiveness because it drives change and innovation. The best leaders keep an eye on changing directions in their industry, promote new ideas from within their company, and bring in innovative thinkers. Leadership. So leadership is the ability of an individual or group of people to influence and guide followers or members of an organization's society or a team. Leadership often is an attribute tied to a person's title, seniority, or ranking in a hierarchy. However, it's an attribute anyone can have or attain, even those without leadership positions. It's a developable skill that can be improved over time. And now, let's proceed to leadership versus leaders. A leader provides guidance and vision, while leadership involves influencing a group to reach its goal. Leadership is important because it inspires, motivates, and sets an example for people to accomplish positive changes in the world. Leadership in education. So they should also be able to foster collaboration among students, teachers, administrator, as well as the parents. The concepts of leadership in education involves inspiring and supporting others towards the achievement of a vision for the school which is based on a clear personal and professional values and is influenced to leading at the achievement of a desired purposes. So an effective leader is a person who does the following. Leaders set organization and help themselves and others to do the right things to move forward. To do this, they create an inspiring vision, they motivate and inspires others to achieve it. They also manage delivery of the vision, either directly or indirectly, and build and coach their teams to make them ever stronger. So leadership versus management. So the difference between leaders and management is that the role of a management is to control a group of individuals in order to achieve a specified objective. On the other hand, leadership is the ability.
Good morning everyone, my name is Kimberly Tenaza and tonight we are going to tackle about trait approach to leadership. But before we proceed to my report, let me first give you a little background about administrative work. So, administrative work is the one who provides support to an institution, and it is important because it keeps the work process run smoothly within the institution. So now we are done with the administrative work, let us now proceed to my report, which is the trait approach to leadership. So, trait approach to leadership is based on the characteristics of many leaders, both successful and unsuccessful, and it is used to predict leadership effectiveness. So Thomas Carlyle is the one who proposed the trait theory of leadership, and according to him, the ability to lead is something that people are simply born with. Carlyle believed it is not something that could be developed. Carlyle's theory of leadership was based on the rationale that certain traits produce certain patterns of behavior. Patterns are consistent across different situations and people are born with leadership traits. While we know that today the trait theory of leadership doesn't hold much weight, there are key leadership qualities that we can identify. Here are 10 leadership skills that good leader possesses. So, first is the future-mindedness. It is an individual that has the qualities of a forward-thinking, proactive, and adaptive person, ready to face new challenges that arise within a business environment. Second is the inclusive leadership skills. It is the individuals who are aware of their own biases and actively seek out and consider different perspectives to inform their decision making and collaborate more effectively with others. Next is the emotional regulation skills. It is a practice of cultivating a sacred buffer of time between feeling the emotion and your reaction to that emotion. Like for example, pausing to collect your thoughts before you respond. It can also mean waiting until you're in a supportive setting to process that feelings. Next is the strong interpersonal skills. It tends to be able to work well with other people, including in teams or groups, formally and informally. They communicate effectively with others, whether family, friends, colleagues, customers, or clients. Next is the high cognitive agility and cognitive ability. It is the extent to which we adapt and shift our thought processes. When doing so leads to more positive outcomes. Next is the strong decision-making skills. Strong decision-making skills are about your ability to choose a good option out of two or more alternatives. As a type of problem-solving skills, there are three main ways to approach decision-making: using the intuition, reasoning, or a combination of both. Next is the strong communication skills. Communication plays such a crucial role in organizational performance. It's also a critical component of building strong coaching skills as leader. Effective leaders, however, often work on their communication skills, and with the rise of hybrid and remote work, communication skills are more important than ever. Next is the ability to resolve conflicts well. The ability to successfully resolve conflict depends on your ability to manage stress quickly while remaining alert and calm. Lastly is the high motivation. Great leaders hold the power of inner work in their back pocket to be able to better motivate their teams. Effective leadership starts knowing what motivates your team. Every company operates differently, but look holistically at your total rewards program. This means taking a close look at the purpose of work, employees, and incentives, benefits, and compensations. While we are not all born with personal characteristics that may innately make us a great leaders, there are some pros and cons. So here are 9 pros and cons to consider when looking at this leadership style. So we have here the 3 pros of the trait leadership theory. So the first pros is that it kickstarted the study of leadership and leadership behaviors. So while the majority of leaders don't believe in the trait leadership theory, it did kick off the study of leadership. Next is that it helped to establish leader traits that leader can improve upon. So this was the first body of research that looked at key leadership characteristics and traits. While possessing leadership skills from birth isn't founded in science, it helped identify which skills can be built upon. Lastly is that it helped identify that personality traits can be studied and researched. So, similar to leadership traits, it also helped establish that scientists can study and research personality traits. So now let's proceed to the 6 cons of the trait leadership theory. So the first cons is that the theory wrongly assumes that leadership effectiveness is something you are born with. So the biggest con of the theory is that it's not empirically validated. It is not valid science-backed theory. So if you're promoting employees based on the fact that they possess certain skills with the idea that they were born with the said skills, you might want to rethink your approach. Next is that it puts forward a false behavioral theory about leadership roles. So putting people in leadership roles based on the idea that they're born with certain behaviors can be dangerous. So without the proper development and coaching support, you risk falling into situational leadership, and situational leadership doesn't help unlock your team's full potential. Next is that it hinders the growth and development of your leaders. For any company looking to develop effective leaders, it requires an investment in their growth and development. But adopting the trait leadership theory insinuates that you don't need to make that investment, which is simply isn't true. Next is that it doesn't empower your workforce to reach its full potential. If you are skipping out on coaching your employees into leadership roles, think about all of that potentials you're leaving on the table. Your employees want to learn, develop, and grow. Next is that it can breed a toxic style of leadership within your organization. Putting non-led leaders in leadership roles based on personality traits can be toxic. Everyone needs support, even your best of leaders. But without the right support, you can risk breeding toxic traits to your workplace. Consider help bring out the best in your workforce with virtual coaching. So, lastly is that it can enforce a more transactional leadership style as opposed to a transformational leadership styles. While there's a time and place for transactional leadership, it's not the best leadership style for maximum impact. To sum it up, while these traits are often linked to effective leadership, it is important to note that few leaders possess all of these traits. Generally, a strong leader will have many of these qualities, but aspects of the situation also play an important role in determining if people are able to lead well. In many cases, it is the interaction between these traits and the situation that determines leadership quality.
Good day, I am Luisa S. Dalaid and I will be tackling the situations and leadership or situational leadership. So, situational leadership means adapting your leadership style to each unique situation or task to meet the needs of your team or team members. Situational leadership is a theory created by Kenneth Blanchard and Paul Hersey. The theory outlines a situational approach to leadership and provides a framework for how leaders should interact with their team members in order to maximize productivity. Situational leadership states that the most effective leaders are those who are able to adapt their leadership style based on the situation. The theory developed in the late 1960s by Dr. Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard. It's predicated on the belief that there is no one best style of leadership. The best style of leadership will depend on the situation, and that means the task to be performed and the makeup of the team performing the task. And the best leadership weighs these different variables affecting their situation and then select their leadership style to best match their situation. The theory is all about leadership and not a management. The person in charge of this theory is called a leader and not a manager. The purpose of this theory is to make it easier for the leader to choose the right leadership style in relation to the individual employee. Effective leadership lies in matching appropriate style to the individual employee's need for guidance and support to achieve specific goal or solve a task. So, this is the 4 style of situational leadership styles model. The theory consists of 2 approaches. In the upper part of the model, there is a matrix with 4 leadership styles. And according to the theory, the leader must choose one of these 4 styles. In the bottom of the model, there are 4 development levels. And according to the model, the employee is placed in one of the levels. And there are 2 basic leadership style behaviors, the directive behavior and supportive behavior. Directive behavior on the horizontal x-axis, the leader is telling and sharing the employee what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and provide frequent feedback on the result. It is very one-way communication from leader to the employee because the leader can effectively guide and direct their employee towards achieving specific goal or objectives, particularly when the follower or employee lacks the knowledge or experience to do so on their own. While supportive behavior on the vertical y-axis, the leader takes on a different role. The leader supports, performs active listening, involves and facilitates the employee to make decisions himself, and the leader provides constructive feedback. The leader helps the employee to become an active part in the decision-making process. This is a 2-way communication where the leader involves the employee. So let's proceed to the 4 situational leadership style. First is directing. consists of high directive behavior and low supportive behavior. The leader provides specific direction about goals. The leader shows and tells a person what, when, where, and how to do something. And then the leader closely monitor the person's performance in order to provide frequent feedback on the result. If there are decisions, the leader takes them. For example is, if a teacher has a class of students who are struggling to understand a particular concept, the teacher could take direct approach and explain the concept in detail, providing step-by-step instruction and keeping a close watch on the students to ensure they are following along and understanding. Next is coaching. Consists of high directive behavior and high supportive behavior. The leader continue to direct goal or task accomplishment, but the leader also explain why, solicit suggestions, and begin to encourage involvement in decision making. Still, the leader are the one to decide. Once a person has lost commitment, providing direction is not enough. You as a leader, you have to provide support and encouragement to your team or employee. For example is, an educator may use coaching style when working with the students who is struggling to understand a difficult concept. So, the educator can provide a guidance and instruction, breaking the concept down into smaller, more manageable pieces. And through conversation, the educator can ask questions that help the students better understand and apply the concept. And the next is supporting. Consists of low directive behavior and high supportive behavior. The role of the leader is to facilitate, listen, encourage, and support. The leader and the employee makes the decision together. The leader supports the person's efforts, listen to the suggestions, and asks a good question to build his or her confidence in his or her competence. For example is, a teacher might provide a students with extra assistance or resources to help them succeed in a difficult subject. This kind of assistant would not only provide the students with the help they need, but it would also a sense of accomplishment and motivation to continue striving for success. And the last is delegating. Consists of low directive behavior and low supportive behavior. The employee makes the decisions about what, how, and when. The role of the leader is to value the person's contributions and support his or her growth. For example is, when a school principal assigns a teacher to lead a particular project, the principal gives the teacher the necessary resources and information and then trusts the teacher to carry out the project successfully. So the principal is delegating the responsibility of the project to the teacher while still providing guidance, support, and feedback as needed. The second approach of the theory, the 4 development levels. The individual employee is placed in one of these 4 levels. The development level of the individual employee is determined by the employee's experience with the task and the motivation to solve the task. The scale of the development goes from right to left, from developing to develop. The development level is a combination of 2 factors, the competence of the employee and the commitment of the employee. So the 2 factors are reviewed in the following sections. First is competence. Is a function of demonstrated knowledge and skills, can be gained through learning or experience, and can be developed with direction and support, while commitment is a combination of confidence and motivation. So confidence is a measure of a person's self-assuredness, a feeling of being able to do a task well without much direction. And motivation is a person's interest and enthusiasm for doing the task. 4 development levels. Development level 1, enthusiastic beginner. The employee have new tasks or challenge and want to get it solved, which is high commitment. However, you are inexperienced, which is the low competence. So the employee doesn't know what he or she doesn't know. You are eager to learn, excited and curious, and fairly confident that learning could be difficult. The development level 2 is disillusioned learner. The employee have acquired some competence but haven't made as much as progress than expected. Your commitment may have dropped because it was harder than you thought or because you feel your efforts and progress weren't being acknowledged. You could become frustrated and may even ready to abandon the task or goal, which is low commitment. The development level 3 is capable but cautious contributor. The employee have demonstrated some competence but lack confidence in doing the task by yourself. You may be self-critical and unsure, or you may be bored with a particular goal or task and lose commitment that way. The development level 4 is self-reliant achiever. The employee have both high competence and commitment. The employee are confident and self-motivated. You need to valued for your contributions. You need opportunities for growth and influence, but you don't need much direction or support. So let's proceed to the match and mismatch of situational leadership styles. The four ideal matches. The employee is at development level D1, which is low competence and high commitment. The leader must therefore use the directing leader style S1, high directive behavior and low supportive behavior. The leader must help the employee to achieve the competences needed for the job, but the leader does not motivate the employees. The employee has high committed himself. The next is the employee is at development level D2, which is low to some competence and low commitment. The leader must therefore use coaching leadership style S2, which is high directive behavior and high supportive behavior. The leader must train and motivate employees to solve the task. It can require a great deal of method on the part of the leader, especially if there are more employees. The employee is at development level D3, moderate to high competence, and variable commitment. The leader must therefore use the supported leadership style S3, which is low directive behavior and high supportive behavior. The leader knows the employee can solve the task, but the employee is a little unsure of his or her ability to solve the task. The leader must therefore support the employee to build confidence and solve the task. And last, the employee is at development level D4, which is high competence and high commitment. The leader must therefore use the delegating leadership style S4, which is low directive behavior and low supportive behavior. The employee can solve the task and is game to solve it. The employee is expert in this field and the employee and the leader know this. The leader must therefore delegate the task to the employee and give employee a free heart to solve. And the two types of mismatch are over supervision and under supervision. Over supervision, the leader will exhibit much more directive behavior or supportive behavior than the employee's needs. S1, S2, S3 is equal to D4. And under supervision, the leader will exhibit too little directive behavior and supportive behavior compared to the needs of the employee, which is the S4 equals to D1, D2, and D3. In conclusion, as a leader, you can use the model to match your leadership. You must be aware that the employee continuously moves in the model depending on which task or goal you set to the employee. There is no best leadership style. It depends on the situation. And as a leader, you must implement a new software system. You can easily go beyond the situation that your employee is placed in the development level and then change your leadership style toward the employee.
Good evening, everyone.
And
name is
it is
Priscilla
never-ending
Cornell,
story.
And my report
And
is
that's all
about
my
behavior
report.
And leadership. What is behavior? So, it is the manner of conducting oneself, while leadership, it is the actions of leading a group of people or an organization. Leadership behavior is the combination of specific characteristics that leaders have and the actions they take. So, why are the effective leadership behaviors important? If you have a good leadership behavior, you can change your followers. You can change your member from being a lazy one to a productive one. So leadership behavior in education. Leadership behavior in education is very, very vital. So as you can see, students will see their teacher as their role model. They will see their teacher as their mentor. So by that, if dili gani mahatag sa teacher ang enough knowledge na gusto sa student o enough na respect na respect na gusto sa student as a student ha na pagkarespeto, automatic dili ma-reciprocate sa bata ang gusto sa teacher na which is respetohon siya kay wala man to nabuhat sa teacher sa student. So we as a future leaders, we should always remember that our students will see us as their role model and we should always act like one. Now, let's proceed to the leadership behavior theory, which is the Kurt Lewin leadership study. So, si Kurt Lewin is a German-born American social psychologist known for his field theory of behavior. So the Kurt Lewin leadership studies Lewin leadership theory was developed in 1939 when a group of researchers led by psychologist Kurt Lewin set out to identify different styles of leadership. So the first styles is authoritarian leadership, which is It provides clear expectation for what needs to be done, when it should be done, and how it should be done. As you can see in the picture, the leader is very bossy. Kung maghatag gani siya time, automatic kana jud na time mapasag yun nimo. Then all iyahang task is naka-scheduled and dili gyud nimo dapat ma-miss na, no? Kay malagot jud siya. So very very bossy jud kayo ang authoritarian. So second is participative leadership. Lewin study found that participative leadership, also known as democratic leadership, is typically the most effective leadership style. As you can see in the picture, a leader mag-accept siya sa opinions and ideas sa iyahang member. So by that, naka-guide na siya or mapa-enhance na niya ang skills sa iyahang members. And also, mabutang niya iyahang members, iyahang followers, iyahang team sa right path sa ilang decision making. So, the last is the delegative leadership, which is the laissez-faire. The members in this group also made more demands on the leader, showed little cooperation, and were unable to work independently. As you can see in the picture, the leader is more free jud na siya, no? Kanang pahayahay lang gud kay siya, and while yahang members is wala na nakadimao, no? Pero walay mahibuhat ang yahang team because ingana jud siya na style, ingana siya na pagka leader. So the situational approach, the situational theory of leadership suggests that no single leader style is best. Instead, it all depends on the situation at hand and which type of leadership and strategies be suited to the task. So I will end my report with a quote saying, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way," by Jen Maxwell. Adios!
Hello everyone, I am Angelica Tunong, and now I will discuss the leadership effectiveness. So leadership effectiveness can be defined as the leader's ability to effectively influence followers and other organizational stakeholders to reach the goals of the organization. Okay, as you can see, we have here Fred E. Fiedler. So he is the person who created the book called Theory of Leadership Effectiveness, year 1967, to achieve the leadership effectiveness. In the workplace or in organization, you need to be an effective leader. So know how to be an effective leader. The first one that we have is personality. So personality is the only characteristics of a good leader to influence the subordinates. So therefore, if you want to be an effective leader, you need to be kind, creative, and effective communicator, self-aware, and so on. The second one that we have is human skills. So human skills, leaders must understand the feelings, emotions, and expectations of the subordinates. So you have to know how to communicate in a different situations and with the different people. Next, we have here communication skills. So effective leaders are good communicators. So effective communication is a key to win the trust and confidence of the subordinates. And we have here administrative skills. So administrative skills refers to those competencies a leader needs to run an organization in order to carry out the organization's purposes and goals. And next, decision making. So leadership effectiveness helps leaders in effective decision making. The leaders need to select the best solutions to solve the problem. And next is conceptual. So conceptual is important because leadership should be conceptual, as it helps to visualize and analyze problems or situation. And we have here the innovation. So innovation should be creative. So the leader should have the imagination to develop a new ideas. And number 8, we have initiative. So taking initiative also means setting goals, achieving goals, and completing tasks. And we have here also the intelligence. So an intelligent leader is efficient enough to make decisions to deal with people. And next is the ethics and values. So leadership effectiveness also involves ethics and values. It is important to have an honesty, integrity, compassion, and courage among the leaders. Okay, now we have here the respect and trust. So trust is usually developed from mutual respect. When staff members trust their leaders, they will feel supportive and confident that they are being treated fairly and respectfully. And next one is delegation. So the leader needs to be delegate tasks effectively. The leaders needs to know each member's strengths or weaknesses to delegate or responsibilities accordingly. And next is appreciation. So a leader should value each team members and mix each members feel value. And the last one that we have is handling success and failures. Of course, it is very important that that a great leader should know how to handle each success and failure. So the leader should learn from the failures and always keep in mind that whenever there is a success, there is also a failure. And all you have to do is that you need to be strong and to face that failures and to get the success that you deserve. And that's all. Thank you.
My name is Gwen Oyangorin, and I'll be discussing the contingency models of leadership. In contingency models of leadership, views that there is no right spectrum of what is a excellent leadership or a poor leadership. There is always a depending for what a person can handle in any kind of activities, in any kind of circumstances in a leader's mind. We have our Austrian psychologist, which Fred E. Fiedler created this kind of theory in 1960s. Also, he studied that the personalities and traits of the leader's mind are in kind of shaped by experience, or they are more involved in kind of difficulties in their lives. That's why they have this kind of potential leader minds to lead in any kind of circumstances or any kind of situation. Also, after Fiedler discovered and revealed his study of contingency theory, there are a lot of modes in the study that are being revealed or being new to the eras, because there are a lot of more approach being born in any kind of studies. And we are going to discuss first the path goal theory, which one of the approach. And the path goal theory is a leader's responsibility to clear the goals based on traits of their team members and the environment which they work. It has a types which the approach of this leadership. They will choose the goals, and also they choose the motivational and achievement indicators that should be used to remove the obstacles. So they are going to derive the path goal for this together with the leader and the members. One of the type of the path goal theory is the achievement oriented leadership, which the leader here encourages the employee to growth and to have the progress. Also, they set the challenge, the leaders set the challenge for their employee, or to his people. Also, he encourages to continue in improving by striving in any kind of circumstances, because the achievement oriented leadership, that's the role for it. We also have the directive leadership here, which the leader know what is expected. It's like given. It's like there is boundaries and there is a standard which they gives the guidance already in the direction. There is also a schedule for the task that is given by the leader, which the leader expected for what's the outcome, because they are already given the set guidance or the goals for the kind of activity in any kind of organization. Also, we have the next type, which is the participative leadership, which our leader suggest his subordinates to have a collaboration and to make the decision making together. They are consulted with what to do, what are the suggestion, what they can say for this kind of activities, if it is wrong or right, if it is good or if it is good or not for the organization. The leader asks for what's their um, suggestions, and that is a good idea for brainstorming. And now we are done with discussing the meaning of path goal theory and its styles. Now we have known that the path goal theory was derived by Martin Evans in 1970 and Robert House, which he developed into its current form in 1971. Let's discuss next the next approach of contingency theory, which is the decision making model that has been derived with Victor Vroom and Philip Piton. They collaborated here in contingency model in 1973. Also, in decision making, the leader here approach that in it depends with the circumstances also, and the involvement of their specifies five distinct types. The five distinct types we are going to discuss later on. And these are the types of authoritarian, the consultative, and the group based decisions. We have the first two here, which are the autocratic type 1 and the autocratic type 2. The case for the autocratic type 1, the leader makes the own decision here, and there is an information that has already been available to the leader's head. Also, the autocratic type 2 is where the leader collects a required information from the followers. So the employee are tasked to have a contribution with what is the information needed in any kind of activity or situation. But, however, the leader only has to make the decision. The problem also is that there is no needed to be informed by the employees. So the result for the information that they have been required is also. So it's on the leader's decision if they are going to be informed or not. Next, we have the consultative type 1 and the consultative type 2. In consultative type 1, the leader here shares the problem to relevant followers individually and seeks their ideas and suggestions and make decision alone. So at the same time, they have been required again to contribute an information for the group in any kind of situation that the leader has asked them to give, but the decision relies only with the leader. While the consultative type 2, the problem here are being shared by the leader to the employees, and also they are asked to have a discussion. They are going to understand together or to find the alternative solution. Unlike with the consultative type 1, they are only asked for their suggestion, but the decision relies on the leader alone. Here in consultative type 2, they are asked to have a suggestion, to have a discussion, but they are going to have the decision making together as a leader and employer relationship. They are going to collaborate with what is the involvement or the the type of they are going to make for a solution in their activity or in any kind of action in any kind of organization. Next, we have the group-based type 2. Here in group-based type 2, they are going to have a brainstorming together. So they would gather together as a group and the decision is consensual. So the leader won't force if they don't like the idea of this kind of activity that has been presented, or they are asked for what are they are going to decide. They have this kind of seeking questions, seeking answers. They are given with the questions that will be presented later. There are discussion together with the followers and the group leaders, so it might be a good thing to have a brainstorming and derive with a great solution by having a collaboration with everyone. In Vroom's and Guiton's theory, there are 7 questions on choice, quality, commitment, problem, information, and decision acceptance where they develop. So the questions content are only to be answered with a yes or no. I'm going to present the 7 questions. Here are the 7 questions that has been given to participate in group based type 2. So I'm not going to read this one by one, but just to present this. Let's go now to the next approach of contingency theory, which is the situational leadership. Here, in situational leadership, the situation here is not static. So the decision here are and the actions here are flexible for everyone. That the management style is with the various factors in every workplace, or it is more involved with relationship and employee um, collaboration. Also, this has been developed in 1982 by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard, which they are both authors and a notable persons. In situational leadership, there are managers who are given with the 3 categories, which are the high, moderate, and low. So the definition for high maturity is a there is a high capability of an employee which has a great confident and the individual who are experienced and work and well their own even though they are alone to do the task. In moderate maturity, they can do general actions. They can do general explicit work task. They would work with individual and group activities. While in low maturity employees are not skilled enough to do the task, but they are quiet, enthusiastic, which we need those people in our organization to lighten up the atmosphere and not to be depressed. Also, in Hersey and Blanchard, they developed the 4 types of leadership, the 4 types of leadership styles, which in delegating style, this is the first one, has a low task, low relationship style wherein the leader allows the group the responsibility to task decisions. It is a best use for high maturity followers because it is delegation, so individual. It is more required with individual thinking and high maturity. Next is the participating style. So, from the word participating, they would collaborate a little, but not as a whole activity would be participate. It has a low task, a high relationship style that emphasizes shared ideas and decision. It is moderate. It is a low task because it's not really that heavy because you can collaborate with everyone and the information is much more easier than the delegating style. We have here next the selling style and telling style. Here in style, sorry, it can be a task for moderate followers because it has a high task, a high relationship style in which the leader attempts to sell their ideas to the group by explaining task directions in persuasive manner, which a high task it is much more in individual thinking and also a part of high relationships. So that means they can collaborate with everyone, but not as always with the activity outgoing. Next is the telling style, which has a high task, a low relationship style, wherein the leader gives explicit directions and supervise work closely. This style is geared toward low maturity followers because it has the low relationships. So it's not good with situational relationship. Also, it's a bit difficult for everyone to adjust this. Now we are done discussing the approaches of contingency theory and its type. So we are close with our conclusion in our report. So here in contingency theory, we have learned that there are a lot of strengths in people, there are weaknesses in people, and they have the consideration for them because it adjusted with how the leader deal with them. So it can be the situational leadership, it can be the situational types, and it can be autocratic type one. It depends on how the leader deals with everyone. So as we have already know that the contingency theory does not have the right spectrum for what is the good or bad leadership for a person that has a potential in it. So, as you can see, there is always a limitation. Also, there is always beyond control. So, even though you are the employee or even though you are the leader, there is always an adjustment. There is always in consideration. Also, there are lots of options, but not of them are wide. There are lots of narrow field that has to be adjustable, have to exist with limits, and there is always been collaboration. That's why we have to collaborate depending on the leader's idea of how to handle the team. There is always a strategy built with everyone. That's why the mature we have those kind of categories, which are the high, low, moderate categories in each kind of um, types. So here, let's go. Now let's go down to our last slide, which we learned that leadership theory or the contingency theory leadership focuses on the leadership styles. It depends on how the leader handles everything or how they adjusted with any kind of situation or circumstances. Also, the honesty for our leaders here in contingency theory, there is always a self reflection and a self value because it is start with how you look up with continuing to adjust with everyone. It start with yourself. It start with how you value everything from yourself to share how to manage with this kind of activity and then to manage a whole organization. That's it, and thank you everyone.
Good day everyone, I am Stephanie Sumalinab. So today I'm going to discuss about the Fiedler's contingency model of leadership. So it is a business framework that evaluates the effectiveness of a leader in an organization. Fiedlers look at a person's leadership styles using the least preferred coworker to identify if you are more likely to be called as a relationship-oriented leader or the task-oriented leader. So the creator of contingency model of leadership is Fred Fiedler. He is an Austrian psychologist and one of the leading researchers in organization psychology of the 20th century. He developed this the model of leadership in 1967 as a solution to the trait and behavioral theories failing to produce a relevant framework for leadership dynamics. So this Fiedler's contingency model of leadership comes with two factors: the natural leadership style and the situational favorableness. So, natural leadership style has two types: the task-oriented leader and the relationship-oriented leader. So, task-oriented leader is more on achieving or on accomplishing tasks, while this relationship-oriented leader are more on connections, building relationships, and managing conflict. And then the second factor is the situational favorableness. It is a second important factor in leadership effectiveness, and it goes along with three situational variables, which is the leader-member relations, the task structure, and the leader's position power. So this leader-member relations, it is centered on trust. So the higher the trust between the two parties, the more favorable the situation is. While this task structure, it is how the team should carry their task. So the leader has more situational control. The clearer and more precise the tasks are, the better the structure is. And then the last one is the leader's position power. So this position power means that if you have a higher authority as a leader, the more position power you have to reward or punish your team. Let's discuss this model that Fiedler's formulated. So as we can see that there is a high favorable situation, moderate favorable situation, and unfavorable and highly unfavorable situation. So when we say this high favorable situation, it means that the leader has a good relationship with his or her member, and has a high position power, and the task at hand is structured. While this moderate has some position power and has to supervise the tasks that are somewhat structured. So while this highly unfavorable situation, it is opposite to high favorable situation. So it means that the relationships are low, as well as the position power and what we call this task structure. So as we can see, the high LPC or this relationship oriented leader are effective on moderate favorable situation, while these task oriented leaders or the low LPC are effective in these two favorable situations, which and these unfavorable situations. So since the task structured are more on accomplishing the task. And now, how to use the Fiedler's theory of leadership to build a more. So the first one is to identify your leadership style. So to identify your leadership style, you should use the LPC scale, wherein the leaders will rate their co-workers, and for instance, they will rate their co-workers as pleasant, and they will give a score of 3, and then so on and so forth. So they will add up their ratings, and then their score will identify of what type of leaders they are. So if they will get a score of 73, they are more likely to be a high LPC high LPC, or what we call this relationship oriented leader. And if they will get this 54 or below, they are a low LPC leader, or what we call these task oriented leaders. And if they are between 55 to 72, they are the or they have these qualities of a relationship oriented leader and a task oriented leaders. So the second one is to assess. So in order to assess the situational control to determine leadership effectiveness in a specific context, Fiddlers ask 3 questions or formulate these 3 questions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 represents the highest value, and you are going to ask these questions in order for you to assess the situation if it is more favorable or uh, moderate or highly unfavorable. So the first question is, are leader members relationship goods and trustworthy? And the second one is, are tasks in questions clear and structured? So by this, you will be able to identify or to assess the situation. And the third one is to consider delegating the work to an appropriate leader. According to Fiedler, the leadership style is fixed and cannot be changed. This means that if a leader style isn't for a given situation, he or she may need to find someone where she can delegate the job to the right person. So, it is not a shame that there are skill that isn't for us. So, by this, we are going to delegate this to those person who has this skill in order to accomplish the task effectively and easily. Try to change the situation. So, this is the last step to have a successful team. So, if your leadership style isn't ideal for the situation, another way to ensure your team is set up for success is to try to change it. Explore these methods to align situational control with your skill set. The first one is to improve leader-member relationships. So, all you have to do is to focus on increasing your honesty with the team or entrusting your other people with the new responsibilities. So you have to build connections with your team to trust them, and because trust increase the clarity of tasks. So are the tasks unclear because that is the nature of the job, or are there the processes that can be organized a bit? So try to structure the tasks so that the team can accomplish them completely. So all you need to do is to give a precise, a detailed, and accurate information about what are the things to do in order to accomplish your task. So you have to structure the task well. Is authority to reward or punish your team. So by this increasing authority, you have this permission to take lead the your team to take the lead of your team for a successful accomplishment of the task. That is all for my report. Thank you, everyone.
Greetings everyone, I am Omar Uyan, and now let's proceed to transformational leadership. Transformational leadership, it is a type of leadership that focuses on the development and motivation of individuals in order to achieve organizational goals. When we talk about transformational leadership, from the word transform, that means to make a change. You have to make an impact to your society. You're going to be a role model to everyone, to everybody, leader, and it is based on the idea that leaders should be able to inspire and motivate their followers by providing them with clear vision, setting high standards, and encouraging creativity. Transformational leaders are often seen as charismatic, inspiring, and visionary, and they're also known for their ability to build strong relationships with their followers and create an environment where everyone works together towards common goals. These are the characteristics of transformational leadership. Number 1, visionary, inspiring, charismatic, creative, and trustworthy. Visionary. Transformational leaders have a clear vision for what they want to achieve and how they will get there. They communicate this vision effectively so that everyone understands it clearly. Inspiring. Transformational leaders are able to inspire their followers through their enthusiasm for achieving success. They motivate people by setting high standards but also providing support when needed. Charismatic. Transformational leaders possess charisma, which helps them connect with people easily. They are able to build strong relationships quickly due to their charm or magnetism. Creative. Transformational leaders encourage creativity among their followers. They provide opportunities for innovation while still maintaining control over the direction of the organization activities. And lastly, trustworthy. Transformational leaders earn trust from those around them through honesty, integrity, fairness, respectfulness, reliability, and etc., creating an environment where people feel safe enough to take risks without a fear of failure or retribution from management if things don't go according to plan. James MacGregor Burns. James MacGregor Burns was born on August 3, 1918 and died on July 15, 2014. He was an American historian and political scientist, presidential biographer. And the concept of transformational leadership was first introduced by James MacGregor Burns in 1978 in his book Leadership. He defined it as the process whereby an individual engages with others and creates a connection that raises the level of motivation and morality in both the leader and the follower. And according to Burns, transformational leadership can be seen when leaders and followers make each other advance to a higher level of morale and motivation. Bernard Bass. He was born on June 11, 1925 and died on October 11, 2017. As what you can see, he died first before Burns, and he was an American scholar in the field of leadership studies and organizational behavior. And according to Bass, transformational leadership can be defined based on the impact that it has on followers. And Bernard Bass, who developed a model for transformational leadership which has become widely accepted today. There are four main elements, also known as 4 I's. First is intellectual stimulation, individual consideration, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence. The first I is intellectual stimulation. Transformational leaders not only challenge the status quo, they also encourage creativity among followers. The leader encourages followers to explore new ways of doing things and new opportunities to learn. Next is individualized consideration. Transformational leadership also involves supporting and encouraging individuals, followers, to foster supportive relationships. Transformational leaders keep lines of communication open so that the followers feel free to share, and so the leaders can offer immediate recognition of the unique contributions of each follower. Next is inspirational motivation. Inspirational motivation. Transformational leaders have a clear vision that they can articulate to followers. These leaders can also help followers experience the same passion and motivate to fulfill these goals. Lastly, idealized influence. The transformational leader also serve as a role model for followers because followers trust and respect the leader. They emulate this individual and internalize their ideals. Transformational leadership in education. Educators can choose between two leadership styles, transmissional or transformational. Transmissional is instructor focuses on conveying information to students without inviting their participation. That means that any opinion does not recognize by transmissional. What the information should just be topic, while the transformational find ways for students to share their viewpoints. That means it will listen to everyone, to students, and In the school setting, transformation leaders strive to create an environment where students are encouraged to reach their full potential, and they focus on developing relationships with students, inspiring them to take ownership of their learning, and motivate them to be a successful student, inspiring them to take ownership of their learning and motivate them to achieve success. Transmissional leaders are also work at, closely with teachers and staff members to ensure that everyone is working together towards a common goal.
Good day, everyone. I am Jan Vergara, and for today, I'm going to discuss teacher leadership. But before we dig deeper on that, let me define first the difference between leaders and teacher leadership. So, when we say leaders, it talks about a particular person or people who has the capacity to lead, inspires, and motivates his or her followers. On the other hand, leadership is talks about the skill or action being performed by that particular person to manage and lead a particular group of people or an organization. So, according to model teacher leader standards developed by the Teacher Leadership Exploratory Consortium in 2008, teacher leaders talks about the teachers who has the capacity and ability to socialize and influence his or her colleagues, the principal, and the other stakeholders to develop and improve their way of teaching and sharing knowledge to their students with the goal and purpose of increasing and improving the students' learning achievements. So teacher leaders are passionate when it comes to caring and handling young children and young people. And one of their main goal is to develop and improve students' academic performances. Like for example, they will motivate the students to engage in curricular activities and inspire their students to be more show and active in within the classroom settings. So there are skills, qualities, and professional actions demonstrated by teacher leaders that can be identified under the four main areas. So we have first the values and commitment. So values and commitment, leaders are committed to the lives of the school where he or she was assigned. They are also the one who value diversity and promote equality since they are considered as the second parents of the children, so they are capable of discipline to give discipline to the students. So second is learning and teaching. So teacher leaders are passionate about learning and teaching and aim to create, maintain, and develop safe, caring, and extremely purposeful learning environment. So the third one is high expectations and ambition. So as a teacher leaders, they have set and high expectations to their learners, most especially when they saw that particular student has its abilities to stand out in a particular things. So they're ambitious and longing for the success of their learners, and they become proud and happy seeing their past students became successful in their individual field and courses. And the last one is communication and collaboration. So teacher leaders are one of the best effective communicators because they can easily and able to sustain and develop the quality relationship with their learners and with the parents and other colleagues. So according to Donaldson 2011, teacher leaders are the key actors in shaping and leading educational change. This is due to the fact that they can motivate and inspire their learners to strive harder in order for them to achieve their goals. So next is the roles of teacher leaders. So first is resource provider. So teachers help their colleagues by sharing instructional resources like for example the websites, reading materials, instructional materials, and other resources that they can use with the students. The second one is instructional specialist. So, an instructional specialist helps colleagues implement effective teaching strategies. So, next is classroom supporter. Classroom supporters work inside classrooms to help teachers implement new ideas, often by demonstrating a lesson, co-teaching, or observing and giving feedbacks. Another is learning facilitator. Facilitating professional learning opportunities among staff members is another role for teacher leaders. When teachers learn with and from one another, they can focus on what mostly directly improves students' learning. Next is learners. So learners model continual improvement, demonstrate lifelong learning, and use what they learn to help students achieve their goals. So next is the importance of teacher leadership. So as a teacher leaders, we are one of the important components of the community and the country because we are the only one who can improve education in a formal way. We can able to share our experiences in life so that the students can get up inspirations from what we share. Experiences can be a better way of educating young people. Teacher leaders also establish great teaching practices because they improve student learning and influence practice among their peers. So that's all with my report, and thank you.